Good time of the day, dear fellow Asgardians. I personally am in the evening time zone, but I know you are worldwide, literally worldwide. Did you know that there are people from 229 countries on Earth who are members of Asgardia? And that's actually more than countries in the United Nations. I'm here in the lockdown and isolation. We are all affected equally by the COVID crisis, and we in Asgardia pay a lot of attention to health and safety and security. However, we are in a way in an easier situation than the rest of the world. You might ask why. Because from its very onset, Asgardia is a digital state. And we will talk more about this today. It was conceived as a digital state by its founder, Dr. Igor Ashurbeli, who announced Asgardia on the 12th of October 2016. That's already quite some time ago. And I'm sure as you followed our progress, you have seen what Asgardia achieved in these past years. Today, we will talk about the today and the future of Asgardia, what's coming up next. Important event which is coming up soon is by-elections to Asgardian parliament, appointment of the new government, appointment of more staff into Asgardia administration. At the same time, it's a great pleasure and a great honor for me today to welcome you here on Discord, which is a new Asgardian platform. We have started recently, and we are so delighted to see how many people have joined since. You are the community which have grown literally over the last 3 weeks, while Asgardia was growing since over 3 years. And yet today, it's a fresh start, fresh interest, fresh people, and it's really my pleasure and my honor to be talking to you about this. I know many of you have already been in touch with my colleagues. Many of you have expressed your interest to be volunteers for Asgardia. There are plenty of opportunities in Asgardia to do that. And I know in Discord channels, you are already talking to the colleagues from all over the world with whom you find common interests, how to live in the space nation of Asgardia. But before we go any further, let's quickly remember altogether what Asgardia is all about. Asgardia is the first in the world history space nation. The idea is, think about it, what is nation? You belong to some nation, you live in some country on Earth, maybe in the country of your birth, or maybe you moved. And yet you feel a belonging. It's either geographical, or it's ethnical, or it's by the language. Asgardia, for the first time in the world history, brought together people which are united by their belief and understanding that future of humanity is in space, that the capacity for human future, for human endeavor, for human exploration lays beyond the realm of the earthly borders, that humanity will sooner or later relocate. Great thinkers of the past spoke about it. Think back at the beginning of the 20th century, Konstantin Tsiolkovsky forecast the possibility of man's flight to space. He wrote, "Humankind will not remain on Earth forever. It will penetrate beyond the atmosphere and conquer all the space around the sun." Who would have guessed just 100 years ago that that's possible? And look where we are now. We take space travel, human space travel, for granted. Stephen Hawking, a great cosmologist, our contemporary who only recently died, spoke not so long ago about the need for human species to be able to settle in outer space, because species which are bound to one planet are bound to extinction. Asgardia. Dr. Igor Ashurbeli, a great thinker and visionary of the 20th and 21st century, has conceived this idea as a result of his lifetime of work and came up with the proposal to bring together you, the people who understand that in the 21st century, we are united through our strive and passion and commitment to be one humanity, and as one humanity to do something good for survival. The vision of Dr. Ashurbeli is to achieve birth of the first human child in space. To this purpose, Asgardia has held a scientific symposium last October, where the world-leading scientists shared their thinking in all the categories of science which are important to achieve this. It's necessary to have artificial gravity. Humans are used to living in gravity. It's necessary to have radiation protection in space. On Earth, we are protected by the magnetic sphere. It's necessary to have normal human interaction. We're all social creatures. I'm personally not suffering much in isolation right now because we in Asgardia are all working remotely. We are all over the world. We work digitally. Our parliament meets digitally. I'm used to working from home. But I know a lot of friends, a lot of people I come across digitally online are suffering because they are used to going outdoors. They're used to visiting office. They're used to drinking coffee in a real corridor. We will come back to this. And yet the world is changing so fast as no one can imagine. Think back 2-3 months. Did we know where we would be today? I never thought I'll be talking to you from my home office, just sitting against the background of my white wall. I thought I would always talk to you from our headquarters. I'm sure those who are listening to me are also just sitting at home. And it's my pleasure to be talking to you and sharing with you this special moment, surviving what's happening in the world right now with a clear and passionate, inspired belief that what Asgardia is doing is helping to better humanity, to take it further into the future and help the entire humankind. You might ask, why is that? I'll go back to what we already discussed. Humankind as species need to live in eternity, in infinity. Sooner or later, the Earth, for natural reasons or man-made reasons, is not going to be such a friendly place for living. It's scientifically proven, unfortunately. So what do we need to do? We need to make sure that humans as species can live in outer space. In order to achieve this, humans need to reproduce in space. So that's technical and scientific goal, core vision of Dr. Ashurbeli, which is put forward to Asgardia, birth of the first human child in space. And that will happen in the next quarter of a century, 25 years. You might say it's soon, but think back. When Tsiolkovsky spoke about the need to fly to space, nobody could imagine that Gagarin will fly in 1961. The progress goes faster than our wildest imagination. At the same time, Asgardia, the first digital nation, uniting all of you, people who, no matter where you are now, where are you from, are understanding the importance of unification through passion and commitment and belief. We're the first nation which actually is a nation by its own will, because you all realize that that's the future of humanity. The geopolitical goal is to become the first digital nation spread throughout the world to be recognized by the United Nations. So that was to look back at where we are today. I have now some questions which some of you sent in preparation to this event. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us. I'll go through some of these questions. And in the meantime, you also are welcome to post your questions. I am alone at the moment in my home office, but my colleagues are in different countries of the world. So you can see, I'm not just saying it, that we work remotely. We are running a global broadcast event, being in different parts of the world. So it works. And we've been doing it from the very beginning, and it proves that we were right. I'll go now through some of your questions. When you write your question, feel free to mention which country you're from. That's always such an inspiration to know how many people from how many countries are listening to us, are talking to us. It's really, I've been doing it for many years, but it doesn't stop to amaze me. And it's such a delightful feeling that no matter where I'm physically sitting, there are people everywhere on this globe, literally everywhere, who think the same, who feel the same, and who share the understanding, the passion, and the desire of what Asgardia is all about. So I'll go through some of your questions now. Dan is asking, who are the members of Asgardia team and where do they come from? Well, we have briefly touched upon this already. In Asgardia, there is the founder, Dr. Igor Ashurbeli. He is a scientist and entrepreneur and visionary and thinker of Azerbaijani and Russian region who lives all over the world. He is really a citizen of the world, and as far as I'm concerned, a Renaissance man. He's so broadly educated and knowledgeable about everything in the world. You would dream to talk to him one day. And it's really the result of his lifetime thinking and inspiration that Asgardia came to being. We have Parliament of Asgardia. The chairman of Parliament is Mr. Lambert Opik. He is the former British politician and chair of the Welsh Labour Party, who has also worked in business and decided to join Asgardia because he also has a lifetime passion for space. So his career in politics and passion for space makes him the perfect person to lead the Parliament of Asgardia. Lambert will be talking to you, I believe, in a couple of weeks once we're done with the upcoming Parliament session, and will brief you about the progress of the parliamentary work. While we're on it, Parliament. Some of you ask questions about the age limit. That's very simple. We have the Constitution of Asgardia. I would not say that it's my bedtime reading, but it's sure my desktop reading. This is the booklet which is always in my computer bag when I travel and always on my table when I'm in the office. When in doubt, look to the source. That's what they teach you in the academic world. So that's what I practice my whole life. Constitution of Asgardia, Article 33, about the Parliament, defines the age of parliamentarians. Why? It was proposed like this. The Parliament was defined by the Constitution, like many other things. You can always find the Constitution of Asgardia in your profile. So when you go onto asgardia.space, you log in as yourself. You can find Constitution, and there you can download it or open it in one of the 12 languages of Asgardia. In case you don't know, those languages were selected at a time when Asgardians were registering, and the first decisions were being made about the qualitative numbers of people as they themselves in their profile register their first language. So that's purely the result of statistics, how many people speaking which language have registered. So in all 12 languages of Asgardia, which were registered at the onset, you will find the Constitution of Asgardia. You're welcome to check it anytime. You also will find in the Constitution that there is a way to hold referenda. A referenda allows to introduce new legislation. It also allows to introduce changes in the Constitution. So if you are a resident of Asgardia, you have the right to participate in all activities of Asgardia, including submitting proposal to changes of the Constitution. So if you today think that the age of 40 is too high, then you as a resident of Asgardia are welcome to submit this proposal. When there is a big number of proposals and they have gone through the Judicial Committee of the Parliament for review of their applicability to Constitution, there will be a referendum called for voting on the changes in the Constitution. It will not happen tomorrow. It will not happen over one question. But that's the procedure, the legal procedure as it is defined in the Constitution, how changes can be introduced, including change of the Constitution. So that's to answer several questions, which all boil down to why starting age of 40. Constitution was developed. It was voted in by, 72.5% of the population. So it's democratically voted constitution, and we, being a democratic state of Asgardia, obey the Constitution. Few words more about democracy. Asgardia is a classic democracy. It has legislative power, the parliament, executive power, the government, and judicial power, the court. These are three independent branches of power. And if you ask why Asgardia is defined as a kingdom, the inspiration was the oldest democracies in the world. If you look at the European monarchies, Netherlands, Luxembourg, Belgium, Sweden, Monaco, you name it, these are the world-leading democracies, and historically they're kingdoms. So the inspiration for the kingdom is taken from the world-leading democracies. And at the same time, it also leaves a lot of freedom For you, people who are the future, the present and the future of Asgardia, to live in this current setup, to work in it, to think what's better. Maybe 5, 10 years down the road, you might also make proposals for some change. Or you might find, as we are finding now, that's actually the setup is quite excellent. It works and it's very lean and very efficient. Remember, we are spread worldwide and we are succeeding in maintaining our digital operation flawlessly, despite the fact that the world is badly affected. Let me see which more questions did I get. What does administration do? Administration, according to the Constitution, Article 32, which defines the scope of head of nation, has also its bullet, because head of nation appoints his administration. It's the organ which helps head of nation run its current affairs. It's been my privilege to be appointed head of administration, so my colleagues who specialize in different areas of work are in charge of specific expert topics like finance, legal affairs, sciences, safety and security, and so on. If you look at the structure of the parliament, you will see that there are 12 committees. If you look at administration, you will see that there are 12 branches in administration. If you look at the structure of the government, you will see that there are 12 ministries. So all those independent bodies have similar subsets, subsections, and we all cooperate. Some positions are still vacant, and we will talk more about it in a minute. But in principle, the answer to the question, what do? We serve the needs, the purpose, the tasks which are under direct supervision and control of the head of nation. That's the task of administration as defined in the constitution of the space nation Asgardia. What kind of accomplishments are you proud of? You are more than 1 million people worldwide who realize how brilliant the idea of Asgardia is. I personally am a great believer that the purpose of life, the meaning of life is in people. And when so many people come together and they talk to you and they share their faith, they share their smiles, they share their goodwill, they offer to volunteer to do some work. Personally, for me, the biggest accomplishment is that people are with us because people understand how meaningful and how important what Asgardia is doing and what Dr. Shurbeli has offered to this world. In technical sense, we have launched a satellite. We are the only nation in the world which has satellite as its territory, and it's perfectly legal because there is no law, apart from the law of gravity, which holds the surface of a country to the surface of a planet Earth. And we're just flying in a low Earth orbit. That's perfectly legitimate. We have the first in the world history digital parliament, which is fully efficient. When the whole world went Zoom and COVID crazy, we actually just kept running business as usual, and it was perfectly fine for us. We have started this world democratic process in many languages, and we have shown that people truly can transcend borders. You know, when you look at Earth from space, you do not see borders. That's the impression which every cosmonaut shares after a space flight, no matter what's the nationality, what's the country of origin, if it's a man or a woman. The biggest impression from being in space is fragility of planet Earth and that there are no borders. Borders are only shapes of the continents, Earth surrounded by water. Borders between countries are in our minds and they are lines on the maps. The Earth has no borders. Asgardia, the first in the world history nation which lives this. It transcends literally, physically, and also conceptually, it transcends earthly borders. For me, the very fact that this idea is now a fact of life, only 3-4 years ago, it was unheard of. We were called crazy. Dr. Shurbeli, in his opening speech, said that I expect to be called crazy. It wouldn't be the first time in my life. It happened. We went through this. I am with Asgardia since before it started. Yes, but now it's been what, 3.5 years? We are a fact of life. The fact that you are listening to us, that's already evidence to that. But just trust me, the people I meet, the people I work with, also in space industry, Asgardia is a fact of life. It's the nation, first ever nation, where people coming together are the progressive people, understanding that first of all, we're all humans. We have the same heart, the same body, the same passions, the same feelings. And the fact that we still are physically in different parts of the world is just temporary. We are one humanity and one unity. Since Asgardia, like any sovereign body, would require a defense force to protect its citizens and uphold values it holds dear, in case of any transgression, what way should be made possible? Again, if we go back to Constitution, we will find that there are articles that define the space fleet of Asgardia. At the same time, there is Declaration of Unity of Asgardia, which states that Asgardia is a peaceful nation and it does not interfere into earthly affairs and expects reciprocity. Today, Asgardia is encouraging everybody to obey by the laws of the countries they are living in. Once we really have an independent platform in space, by that time, in line with the Constitution, Parliament of Asgardia would have worked to define the legislation which allows to implement all the necessary safety and security. We have Safety and Security Committee in the Parliament of Asgardia. I have a wonderful colleague, Phil Appleby, in administration, head of safety and security. And there is a position of head of safety and security, the Minister of Safety and Security in the cabinet, which is also will be coming vacant and available for application soon. Asgardia's ministers, who they are, what they are working on. At the moment, Asgardia has vacancy for the cabinet. So Asgardia ministers at the moment are to be hired. If you go onto the website and you look at the menu item government, you will see what are the ministries, which positions are available. I encourage each and every one of you to give it a very good thought, which of these positions might be for you if it's worth applying. This is very serious. We are looking, and that will be announced officially soon, but since you asked, it's good we talk about it. It will be announced soon that there is a possibility to apply for the positions. We encourage professionals, serious professionals with significant background in their areas of expertise to apply for the positions of ministers. It will be not just a solicitation letter and CV that we will be asking. We will also be asking each candidate to provide a proposal, a concept. How do they see the future of the ministry? How do they propose to lead and to operate their area of work? So please do go onto asgardia.space, select government, scroll down. You will see all 12 ministries described. And if you think that you are competent, that your education and expertise make you a leader in the domain, and you have a possibility to lead and to offer a concept, to offer a program to benefit Asgardia in this area, by all means, consider applying. These vacancies will be published soon. So ministers are still to come, and we hope to recruit the best people this year. What concerns the Parliament, according to the Article 33, Parliament of the Constitution, Parliament consists of 150 people. You might ask why 150. I'll tell you. You find it interesting. The goal of Asgardian population is 150 million people. That's 2% of the population of the world. And it will never be more. It's only 150 million people. So ultimately, 150 is a percentage of 150 million. But since we already start operation of the parliament right now, we immediately recruit the full parliament. This is your chance. Today, parliament is about 2/3 formed, so the elections will be announced officially soon. And this is your chance. I know many of you are young and the age limit doesn't allow it, but bear with me, I'll tell you what you can do also to lead in Asgardia. So to apply for parliament, that's the elected position. You need to publish your program and you need to have residents vote for you. I'll emphasize residents. Like any nation on earth, there are different possibilities for citizens and for visitors. We consider Asgardians everybody who came and visited Asgardia and registered as wanting to be Asgardians. There are plenty of opportunities for registered Asgardians to do things online and on social media with Asgardia, to network, to meet people, to join the projects. At the same time, residents are people who paid a residency fee and by doing so committed to being fully involved, fully supporting the goals of Asgardia. So residents get the full rights to anything which happens in Asgardia. That means participating in all political processes, and that also means operating in the economy. About that, we'll also talk later. Participation in political processes means being elected and voting in elections. So to be a parliamentarian, to be elected, to run a campaign, you need to be a resident. But also to have the right to vote, you need to be a resident. So if you're applying for the elections, think, who are your friends? Who will vote for you? Bring your friends, let them join Asgardia, let them support you. While we're talking about this residency fee, let me also pay attention to something else. I don't have it on my list here, but it's asked often enough. What do I get for my 100 euros? The answer is very simple. We can give you plastic buttons, nice certificates to hang on the wall. We will post it to you. It will happen soon. Our marketing department and the staff there are brilliant people. They're working on it. You will get all the symbolic stuff, which is wonderful to have, and it's brilliant quality, and it's very nice to share with your friends and family. And yet, do you really, people who are already with Asgardia, who bought into its vision, are you really thinking in those terms? Honestly, first time I was asked this, it caught me by surprise, and I'm not easily surprised. Really, think about it. You make a difference for shaping the future of the world. It adds an extra dimension to the meaning of life. I answer this question to myself when people ask me, why do you work? You know, I'm available 24/7. My colleagues are in every country of the world. They call me in all hours of the day. And why are you doing this? Honestly, I care about people. We discussed it. For me, people are the biggest value in life. And I personally want to make a difference. By joining Asgardia, you make a difference. You make a difference to yourself by making a difference for shaping the future of the world. You are the pioneers who are defining today the concept how community of humans can unite in being together despite being separated by time, distance, language, beliefs, traditions. You bring the new understanding, the new meaning of the 21st century to the concept of connectivity of humans. You make a difference. You shape the future. You are among the forward thinkers whose passions are allowing to move on in this postmodern crisis economy and era, and yet you move it forward. So what is the value of being a resident of Asgardia, of participating in its entirety of political activities and economic activities through paying contribution to your residency? You make a difference to yourself by making a difference to the world. That's the answer I gave to me when I was offered to join, and that's my honest answer to everybody who is questioning what is the value you get for residency. It's not what Asgardia can make for you. It's what you can make for the future of the humankind by being with Asgardia. Question from Alex. Does Dr. Shurbeli actively participate in the nation's day-to-day life? Yes, Dr. Shurbeli is very much involved. I'm regularly in touch with him, of course, being the head of his administration. And Dr. Shurbeli is, of course, briefed and informed about everything which is happening, and he gives his advice within the scope of the head of nation remit in the constitution. But, of course, being a visionary and being the thinker and the brilliant mind behind Asgardia, he offers the teams ideas how to move forward, that it's under his guidance that the progress is made. Will Asgardia collaborate with private companies working in the space industry? How would this collaboration work? Asgardia is absolutely open to any collaboration with any space companies and space industry. I'll repeat again, the goal of Asgardia, the visionary goal, is to achieve birth of human child in space. This would require a lot of research, and that would require collaboration with the existing scientists, with the existing institutions, with those who already have done a lot in this domain. Scientific research is a very timely activity, very time-consuming activity. But in order to achieve spaceflight, many other things need to be done. You need to fly to space, so you need to fly a rocket, you need to be launched. So far, Asgardia is planning to use services available in the market, for example, to achieve space launch. Asgardia is planning to cooperate in training astronauts with those who already have experience in training astronauts. So, of course, Asgardia is totally open to cooperation and welcomes all the proposals and discussions how to build joint future. Because you see, if you look back at space history, now there is International Space Station. If you look 15 years back, there used to be a Russian Mir station. Before that, there were Salyut stations. And in those days, there was a discussion that Russians will build Mir 2 station, and Americans and the Western world will build Freedom Station. And this all resulted in Mir shuttle program, whereby shuttle vehicles from the States docked to the Russian Mir station. And ultimately, this led to the ISS, International Space Station, which is the biggest in the world history, peaceful endeavor in technological domain. It's for a reason. It's space business so far is very, very costly. So if you ask me, will we all fly as Guardians to space in a year or in 2-3 years? I will be honest with you, no. But what we do today, by creating this totally new world where space flight is possible for the hundreds of people in the future, because people will start living and recreating in space, procreating in space, sorry. That's what would make a difference. That's the question of a couple of decades. And if you think in space terms, it's not so far away. I'll look for more questions. We have now questions coming in from the listeners. Thank you very much for being with us. Give me just a few seconds to read them. The government question from Ellie. Hi, Ellie. The government structure for Asgardia is fine for a nation that's still within the orbit of Earth or within the boundary of inner planets. Once beyond, we are limited due to vast distances. So what happens then? Ellie, we are operating with our best guess on the basis of what humanity has developed until now. Democracy is the best societal structures so far developed by people on Earth. So what we're doing, we're learning by experience. We're taking with us the best practices the most advanced nations have already achieved. And as we progress, we of course evolve. Today, we are talking about operation in low Earth orbit. Again, go to the website, download our brochure. You would see that there is a plan for so-called Earth Arc, Terra Arc. And there, in low Earth orbit, of course, like you say, it's all applicable. That will still take some years. In the meantime, Parliament of Asgardia, the legislative body, will adapt and develop in line with what has been conceived, also for the purpose of further travels. I believe that there is still enough time in our hands to develop it all in a good way. What are the next steps in order to have Asgardia as UN-recognized country and a national territory? What is the administration doing to fulfill those objectives, and how long will it take? How long? I have no answer, because I'll emphasize we have so far achieved everything we committed to. Therefore, our commitments are cautious but very reliable. In terms of being accepted as a member, there is no actually such thing as being given a title of a country. There is no organization which can give you a label on your head, you're a country. Becoming a nation, becoming a country, is a matter of bilateral recognition. So what we're doing is actually what some earthly states have done in the past. We are holding bilateral discussions with some countries on Earth to see how to achieve bilateral recognition. No, I cannot tell you what they are. So far, these are still informal consultations. But basically, the approach is that once there are some bilateral recognitions signed, then we discuss it with the United Nations. And while we're on it, let me talk about the difference between citizenship and residence. We are not yet talking about citizenship because, again, we are extremely serious about what we are committing to. And when you're a citizen, that entails that you have a passport, and passport is a travel document. Passport is not just a pretty polygraphic product, which is nice to hold in hands as a souvenir. No, passport is a travel document. So we will start using the term citizen and issuing passports once we achieve a recognition with nations with whom we can allow traveling on Asgardian passport. In the meantime, residence is the highest status one can have by being with Asgardia, and this is what we are offering to you by joining. I am Lena De Winne with Asgardia from day before 1. My personal number as a registered Asgardia is 8. If you want to know your personal number, you go into your profile and you have a very long number which has digits, dash, many, many digits, dash, and digits. So this many, many digits in the middle between two dashes, the numerical there is the sequence number under which you registered sequentially by joining Asgardia. So my number is 8. I am a resident of Asgardia. I pay my annual €100 fee to maintain my residency, and it gives me the right to become a citizen the moment that's available. How can the citizens of Asgardia contribute for the vision of reaching outer space? Well, that, again, residents, not citizens. That very much depends. What are your skills and expertise? Because in order to achieve a huge goal, a lot of work needs to be done. Look at the space flight of an astronaut to the International Space Station. You just see the crew, 3 people. When they get together on board, 6 people. Do you know how many people work in order to make one human fly into space? It's thousands, and I'm not exaggerating, thousands. And that's just International Space Station program. It's not the most expensive space program in the world. We just care for it more because humans connect to humans. So in order to achieve Asgardian spaceflight, a lot of work needs to be done. And Asgardia needs, amongst other things, to run functional economy. To run economy, we need to develop business exchanges. We need business proposals, which are real proposals with business plans, which self-finance, which show break-even point and bring profit to the creators of the project and to Asgardia. So by being a resident, by proposing projects, by implementing these projects, you stimulate the economy. In this economy, you stimulate the buildup of the society, of the infrastructure. Part of it is technology, manufacturing, science, education, all what is necessary to build solid, strong bases for developing a society that can be a spacefaring nation in collaboration with the other countries in the world who today are not members of the top 20 space club. Only very limited number of countries, about 20 of them, have access to space. So Asgardia offers collaboration to the best scientists worldwide who today do not have access to perform research in space simply because their nation is not participating in the space program, doesn't have a program of their own. But if your skills lie in different domain, if you are a person of humanities, if you're a person of economics, if you're a person of art, again, you are listening to me right now. It's a pleasure for me to talk to you. It means that space inspires you. And the whole thing about space and Asgardia is that space is for everyone. It's just today, the level of progress, the level of development is such that only very few people get to fly to space. There is under 600 people in total who have been to space in the entire world today. And space is the future. It's natural. It's pushing the boundaries of the unknown. It's in the human nature to explore. The Earth is explored. The next boundary is space. So by being an artist, I'm just saying something. I don't know who you are, unfortunately. You just talk to your friends artists. You share your inspiration. You show why you are with Asgardia. You help spread the idea. And then your community, assuming you're artists, all of a sudden you make an event which is space-inspired, dedicated to Asgardia. You become residents, and all of a sudden it's a huge event within the scope of Asgardia, under the umbrella of Asgardia. I'm just imagine that you are an artist. Or, I don't know, maybe you are a sailor. You can identify as a sailor with life in space. It can be extremely lonely. You are far away. Maybe you don't always have connectivity to your family. You can all of a sudden self-identify with being a space traveler. Think how you, a person of a different profession, have come to loving space. What inspired you? Why you are finally with us, where you belong, being a person passionate about space. And bring your ideas forward. Find like-minded people. I read occasionally social media of Asgardia, and I certainly observe in these 3.5 years that people who are with Asgardia, most of them are not spaceflight professionals. They are people who keep on dreaming because they cared about space travel when they were younger. Then they followed their dreams. They gained other professions, and yet space is in their hearts. Help us educate the next generation. You can do anything you are doing right now and dedicate it to Asgardia. And by doing so, you take the goal of Asgardia forward, and you are definitely helping space research as well. Is there any technology that is planning for use in space? Daniel from London. Daniel, unfortunately, I cannot give you any specific details. I can only again emphasize that the purpose, the vision of science in space under Asgardia umbrella is birth of first human child in space. Now, my brilliant colleague, Professor Dr. Floris Woutz, who is now in administration, special advisor on science to the head of nation, is himself as a prominent scientist active in human physiology and space domain for many, many years. So under his leadership, teams are being brought together which help advance physiology research to make sure that humans born in space have fulfilled healthy life, and of course their parents. Would Asgardia and Asgardians consider an event held in Egypt overlooking pyramids? Ahmed, hi. Asgardia would consider anything which makes sense to Asgardia's goals and Asgardian people. I'm not sure what you mean by overlooking pyramids. We so far do not have a capacity to fly over pyramids in our own independent way. But again, Asgardia is for everybody. If you're in Egypt, if you have ideas, if you have resources, if you have community that wants to come together, Look, for example, at the website, at the operation of mayors of Asgardia. We need to talk more about this, which governance opportunities are available. Asgardia is offering people to be leaders in their communities, locally, regionally, in the country, in the continent. There are so far about 40 mayors who have gone through the election process and got confirmed. But the proposal, the opportunity to become a mayor, it's available. You can always apply, pay the residence fee, it's political activity available to residents, become candidate mayor, and start operating as a mayor. And that's available to anybody. Well, you have to be above 18, of course, to join Asgardia at your own will. And then you can propose, you can become a mayor of Cairo, you can create an event, you can bring together the community, you can propose within that community an activity which is so grand that you invite people, Asgardians, from the other areas. So even the sky is not the limit, literally. So it's up to you what can be done over the pyramids. Become the local leader. We will support you. And then let's look together what can be done. Eric, what space news do you personally follow? Which topics matter to Asgardia the most? Where can I follow current news to stay up to date? Well, there are different areas of space. We're here talking, first of all, about human space flight. I personally have a lifetime career in human space flight. I used to work in the European Space Agency, and I'm now with Asgardia. And before that, I worked also for Dr. Ashur Bailey for Home Space magazine of Asgardia and Asgardia Independent Research Center. So I personally derive my personal space news by reading also what we publish on Asgardia. Actually, we have a very good selection of the most interesting news which are worth reading if you're just getting to know the subject. But then there are different websites. You just go onto space.com and you read about anything. Really, it very much depends what you're looking for. These are different areas. Astrophysics is very different to human spaceflight, it's very different to telecommunications or Earth observation. So you just Google the area which you find the most interesting. But of course, we pay attention to things which help advance Asgardia. So if you mean those news which make it possible for Asgardia to evolve, stay with us. We make sure that all the interesting things are covered. How does Asgardia plan to attract scientists? For example, does Asgardia plan to publish its own scientific journals? And what should a scientist do to actually work with Asgardia? Nona. Asgardia has Room, the space magazine of Asgardia. It's room.eu.com. It's, by now, I'm proud to say, it's one of the most prominent magazines in space arena. It's published quarterly. It's about 116 pages. It has regular categories: astronautics, space weather, news, space lounge, so some entertainment as well. All the authors in Room are experts. So if you are a space scientist who want to write about space and be published within Asgardia, go to room.eu.com. You will see there contact details of the managing editor, Mr. Clive Simpson, and you can write your proposal. His full email will be on that website, and you can write to Mr. Clive Simpson your proposal of an article. I tell you more, it's not only if you're a scientist, it's also if you are a lawyer, an economist, a visionary, a futurist, a philosopher, anything to do with space. Why Room is amazing and why Asgardia is amazing. We are the only entity in the world which brings space together as a cross-disciplinary conglomerate. Room is the only magazine which does not represent anybody's interests, but provides space, provides room, hence the title, for free debate about space, about the future of space. We love when people with opposing opinions talk on our magazine, on our website. Because today, like in any technology, in any science, you can assume things, but you cannot know for sure. Only time will tell what's really happening. So we love to have publications where prominent authors express their opinions, defend their opinions, and discuss how things will be in the future, present what they think. So not only if you're a scientist and your scientific activities somehow are related to space, but also if you are working in any domain, no matter what, and it's somehow space related, do write a proposal of an article to the managing editor of Room, Asgardia's space journal. It's distributed worldwide in the professional community, business to business. We are, as Room, media partners of world-leading conferences on aerospace, and it's also sold in retail in North America. And you, of course, can subscribe to Room. The easiest is digital subscription. Some articles you already can find online, but you can get full subscription and your personal PDF copy if you wish. And of course, you can subscribe to paper copy if you, like me, love the feeling of nice paper in your hands, and if you were born in the last century. Patrick, is Asgardia looking for potential partners in regards to going to space, like ESA, NASA, SpaceX, or any other? If so, are talks already started to discuss the plans, ideas, or projects? I can only refer back to what we have already discussed. Asgardia is fully open to cooperate with any partner who are, on the one hand, providing services, which Asgardia would need, because we are developing certain areas. We are not developing the entire capacity. It's simply impossible. We focus on the vision, birth of the first human child in space. So we are open to any partners, be it ESA, NASA, Roscosmos, Japanese agency, Canadian agency, Chinese agency, Indian space agency, companies, be it SpaceX, Boeing, Airbus, Lockheed Martin, you name it, anybody who are prominent and expert driving in their domain and want to cooperate, we are open to discuss areas of cooperation. Nina, how does Asgardia plan to fight such type of pandemics in the future, since we are going to deal with space and other space objects which might contain a known virus and other life forms that may make us contagious, and it's a big possibility? Well, this is an excellent question. When we talk about threats from space, originating from space to life on Earth, contamination by foreign, meaning outer space, microbes is actually one of the listed recognized threats coming from Earth. The other threats include asteroids, meteorites, radiation, solar storms. But yes, this is one of the areas, and you rightfully mentioned, this is one of the areas which we must pay attention to when we define how the work will be done. I don't have an answer today, but you are totally right in listing it among the questions which require discussion and very thorough research to make sure we're protected from foreign organisms. Do you believe Asgardia will be recognized as a nation, Siemens? Right, I believe in it. I'm spending 24/7. I miss holidays. I stay away for weeks from home and miss my husband. How do you think I would be working on something if I questioned what is the purpose of it? For me, it's not just a job. I'm living it. And I'm old enough to decide how to live my life. I'm not here just because it's a fancy job. So yes, right, I believe in what I'm doing. And I sure hope that all of you who are listening to us today, and I again thank you for taking the time, for being with me and with my colleagues who make this conversation possible. I sure hope that with you I find co-thinkers, co-visionaries, people who are passionate about life. People ask me also, why are you with Asgardia? I'm with Asgardia because life is bigger than just earning a living, because I really want this feeling that I make a difference. And I know that in my place, I make a difference. And I encourage all of you who share this feeling that you want your life to be fun, you want your life to be passionate, that you want your life to be an adventure, while remaining serious. We're all adults. Many of you are young adults, and yet you are serious people. You make your choices, you set your priorities. But again, for me, personally, one of the things of Asgardia is a crisis of postmodern era. We're adding a new meaning to life, and it sure added huge meaning to my life. And the only reason I'm doing it is because I'm truly believing in what we're doing. When this will come to fruition, it can be a year sooner or a year later. Do I know the answer? No, I don't know the answer. But what I know the answer about is that I'm a very lucky person, that I'm given this opportunity to be connected to something which is so forefront, so advanced, so on the cutting edge. The world as we have it has been given to us by our predecessors. If you think about it, Dr. Shurbeli announced opening of Asgardia on the 12th of October 2016. This is exactly 524 years later, after Columbus, Christopher Columbus, on the 12th of October 1492, sailed off to India to arrive by chance in America. What's common between us? Because what's common is that we all are driven forward. In the 15th century, just going to a different country was a lifetime adventure. We are lucky because people did try to go to different countries. And we today, okay, we're locked up. It's very, very sad about this pandemic. And I truly hope that we get out of this soon and life goes more back to normal and we can travel and see each other in person. And I can hug all of you when we meet at an event of Asgardia. But these few months, hopefully out of the way, we're back to normal. We travel, we take it for granted. Where were the people in 15th and 16th century when Columbus sailed off to India and accidentally arrived in America? What use was it for an average person in 1500? None. They didn't know it happened, even they didn't have internet. And yet, where would we be today if it didn't happen? We owe it. We owe it to the future generations. We owe it to our children, to our grandchildren. We have to leave the world, which they get after us, in a better shape. Some people ask me what Asgardia does for the other social projects, if we do environmental protection, saving whales, I don't know. We don't. Asgardia has its purpose and its vision. So let me answer this very regularly asked question. What does Asgardia do in other domains and why space? Everybody has to choose a cause. If you're passionate about something, excellent, you should work for your cause. We in Asgardia, inspired by Dr. Shurbeli, are following the cause set forward by him. And as you're with us, we welcome you wholeheartedly. And we promote our cause, space exploration and space research and space settlement for the benefit of the entire humankind. Today, it's not easy. If you look at the International Space Station, it's a tough journey. It's also a tough life on board. You don't get gravity for many months. In this lack of gravity, you have, you know how much? You get 250 milliliters of water per day for your hygienic needs. You don't have a shower. You only wipe with a wet cloth. And then this wet cloth is hanging to evaporate, so the water is recycled. There is such scarcity of water. Life in space today is not comfortable. It's really difficult. And yet, people are doing it. We're at the beginning of it, but we're also at the forefront. This brings us to the end of the questions which I received from the listeners. Thank you again for being with us, with Asgardia Space Nation, today, tonight, this morning, this night, this evening, this afternoon, wherever you are. I am Lena De Winne, Head of Administration to the Head of Nation of Asgardia. Stay with us on asgardia.space, on the Discord channels, on our other social media. post your comments. My brilliant colleagues who run the sites are always there to talk to you, to help you connect to the like-minded people. And I'm looking forward to talking to you after a few weeks. And in the meantime, thank you and goodbye.